It's Channel Mom with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you. If you're tired of the same old bad news, Channel Mom's got good news moms can use with Angie Austin.
Brought to you by Pediatric Dental Group of Colorado, creating positive and rewarding dental visits for kids of all ages since 1977. This is not good news, but I kind of want to throw it out there because I've been reading this, and Angie is going to weigh in on it with me. I do want to welcome Angie Austin to the Channel Mom Show.
Thank you for the welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome for the welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, stop. Here's the deal. I read 3 news stories in the last 2 days that moved me to tears. I don't want to be too political, and I'm hoping this is not political. I'm hoping that just about everybody that hears me talk about these things is going to be on the same page and understand where I'm coming from. I've got 3 stories for you. Number 1 is a surrogate mom who has given birth or carried 8 children for people throughout, a period of 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? So she had a surrogate set of babies she was carrying for a couple that she'd already had one baby for. Suddenly they got divorced and decided that they didn't want that baby anymore. The parents got a divorce, decided they no longer wanted the 2 babies that she was carrying, the twin babies. And this was the surrogate mom's response.
The question I kept asking was, why? How can this possibly happen? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. They go to these extremes to have children, and then all of a sudden, they just don't want to carry on with the pregnancy. And I was about 14 weeks along at the time. I tried to work it through the whole thing and kept trying to tell them, my gosh, you got to keep the babies. These are your babies. They are genetically linked to your son. I ended up going to court 3 months after the twins were born, and I ended up taking them home with me because I just didn't have the heart to put them into social services. I was actually awarded parentage and became the first mother in California, gestational surrogate mother, to become the legal parents to children who were not biologically mine.
Well, thank God she did that. But Angie, here's where I'm about to ask you to weigh in. What we didn't tell you about this surrogate mom story is that she gets eggs implanted in her and so on and so forth to give birth to babies that are from somebody else. She had 3 babies. And from what I understand, the couple asked her to quote unquote reduce. So then she was down to 2 babies. Okay, so that's number 1 story. Couple that with, a day later, I read the story about the fact that they're now giving maternity 21 tests to mothers, expectant mothers, to see if their baby's at risk for Down syndrome. They used to do it later in the pregnancy, so it was a little bit more iffy to decide to abort. They've decided to bump that up so that they can do it earlier in the pregnancy, which gives the mom more of an opportunity to abort the baby. Whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, I find that sad. I have a number of friends with Down syndrome children who they adore, who have added to this world. I can't imagine doctors saying, we need to bump that test up so everybody can abort these babies. Okay, so that's number 2. And number 3 is I read a hate mail letter on Twitter. I think it was the real deal, sent to a grandma in Canada who was taking care of her autistic grandchild. He was out in the front yard, and apparently he makes noise when he's out there.
Yeah.
A neighbor sent this grandma a hateful letter about how awful it was that they even exposed this child to the public and that other people had to listen to him, and it's noise pollution. Why don't you just keep him in the house or get him out of our neighborhood? And by the way, what would be even better is if maybe you decided to euthanize him. Okay, 3 stories, and I'm in tears at my computer because I think a couple of things. What's happening to our world, and why have kids become a disposable, scientifically alterable commodity? We're being told that maybe we should test earlier so that we can eliminate all Down syndrome children. And I know that's a tough thing. I want to say I know Down syndrome babies, that's a tough thing. But I'm still not sure about bumping up the test so we can make sure we can get rid of all of them. And then euthanizing kids with autism. Really? Is that where we've come to, that we're devaluing life that much? What do you think?
All right, number 3 about the hate mail that the grandmother received about the autistic child. When I was doing news and I was pregnant, I got an email. What was it? No, they took an ad from the newspaper that had 3 of the women that I anchored with there at the station, and it said, you women are too old to be having babies, and I hope you all have Down syndrome children, something to that effect. And obviously, we knew the person was mentally ill, but they put, our pictures were in the paper, and he included that with it. And so that hate, to me, the anonymous hate, where you can just sit in your home and giggle about it and not put a return address, or you can do it on the internet, to me is just pure evil. Yeah, plain and simple. Yeah. Regarding the amniocentesis that I was offered,
I was too.
Over 40 for my last baby. It was presented to me like this is routine. You get the amnio. And I said, well, why would I want it? Well, to find out whether or not your baby has Down syndrome. And I'm like, well, I don't care if my baby has Down syndrome. It's not relevant to me whether the baby does or not. I'm keeping the baby. And so why do I need the test? Well, you might just want to be educated and know that the baby has Down syndrome so you can be prepared. Prepared for what? Like if I know for a few minutes, it's going to help prepare me more. There's a 1 in 200 chance that the baby will die because that amnio. And maybe it's advanced, but I was told at the time there was a 1 in 200 chance your baby would be aborted due to the amnio to find out whether or not the baby had Down syndrome, which for me would make no difference. All right, my girlfriend, whose daughter has spina bifida, was told she was a very young mom, early 20s, and they said your baby has spina bifida, and when would you like to schedule? I know it's a difficult decision. When would you like to When would you like to schedule the abortion? And she's like, what do you mean? And she was young and didn't know even what spina bifida really was. And they said, she won't walk. She won't be able to go to school. She'll have all these problems, which by the way, she does walk. She does go to regular school. And with braces, you can barely even tell. I mean, my kids didn't even know when they met her that she had spina bifida because she ran with her leg braces. So she said, well, what do you mean, an abortion? And they were like, well, that's the decision that, they acted like that's what you do, that you abort the baby because the baby has spina bifida. Yeah. I mean, people were even aborting children that have a cleft palate situation or a club foot. These are easily taken care of. This is a surgery to change this. You don't get rid of a child because they have spina bifida, Down syndrome. And, I don't want to get into the politics of it either. This is just my decision. So I'm sorry. Okay, so the surrogate. I'm so troubled that these parents, who are these nut jobs that said, have our babies, you carry them. Oh, by the way, we're getting a divorce. We're going to keep the first baby you made for us, that you carried for us, but we don't want these other two. They're your children. They're legally your children. Yeah. And the fact that this surrogate decided to take home 2 babies that were not even hers and that she did not want to abort them or get rid of them.
God bless her, man.
My hat's off to her that she has, been a gestational carrier for 8 times for people who couldn't have their own children.
She says she loves to be pregnant and she understands the value of life. And that's where I'm coming from. And, I know all the political arguments and I don't want to get into them. I do not want to get into them. All I want to say is what's happened to our society, that life is throwaway. Throw away. It blows my mind having 2 children that I adore myself, and most everybody out there that's listening to the show that values motherhood adores their own children. So why has life become throwaway? I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but I just had to bring these up.